do that.
Oh, there it
Did
goes.
that just do it?
There's recording.
We're in. We're in. Cool. So hopefully that means that this is getting captured and we'll have it for our future selves. Yeah, so continue on. Tell me a bit more about the North Korea journey. And I know you're starting to go down there. So
I know. And I was like,
going.
I don't know if I should talk about this, but because I'll just go on a tangent for a minute, but it's something I've been passionate about for years. So it started with one documentary, which is a BBC documentary years ago, where they followed two North Korean gymnasts who were training for the mass games. And if you don't know, the mass games is like one of the biggest human spectacles on the planet. It's a big to do. They have like dance, gymnastics, taekwondo, and then the visual arts, and it's just absolutely stunning. And so the background is actually people with this board, and they change like scenery by cues from the other side and stuff, and there's music. It's gorgeous. So that really intrigued me, and then I started researching North Korea. So that was about 9-10 years ago. And then I had the opportunity to go to South Korea and visit my friend, and I went to the DMZ, and it was just mind-blowing, like absolutely mind-blowing. So when you go through, you have to sign a waiver. You know, we're not responsible for kidnap, nobody under 12. You have to dress a certain way because they do watch you from the other side. They will film you, they will take photos of you and report back. And so if you wear like ripped jeans and you're like, oh, they can't clothe their people, you know, so it's intense. And then I had an additional opportunity to go beyond the border to the propaganda village, which is just on the other side. You can see it from the border. And the oppression is unreal, just absolutely unreal. But the people that reside there are taken care of by the government, though they have food and housing and schooling, but they sow the soil, basically. But the buildings behind them are crumbling. It looks like Soviet Union. It's still stuck in time, so it's crazy. So when I got back to the States, I reached out to Liberty in North Korea, which is a nonprofit in LA that rescues and rehabilitates them. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and that started from the documentary. And then, so how old would you have been when you went there?
Oh my gosh. I was, it was 2013, so.
2013.
2013. Apparently I can't do math today. Oh, definitely in my early
I was like
20s.
12. I'm just kidding.
You're a baby.
I'm just kidding. I was at least 14.
Yeah, it was in my early 20s for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a pretty big jump at the time? Like, I mean, so starting from being exposed to this from something like a documentary, and then
I cried. I cried when I saw the North Korean flag in the mountains flying. Like, I teared up because I was just like, I can't believe this is real. And it sounds crazy because it's such a, repressed regime. But the more research I did, like, the more I knew, and I was able to prepare for that. And then I had the opportunity to speak to a defector, and it just blew my mind because we have no concept of what they will go through, even if given the information, and it's kind of, it would be rude to think that we would understand, everything that they've been through. So I've read like almost every autobiography. I have like a whole stack over here of books I've read and just keeping knowledge, but it's just something I don't know, it just stuck with me for whatever reason. So what's surprising me about this situation is that when his grandfather passed away and when his father passed away, it was a big deal. And then the public was theatrically crying because it's kind of staged, like the news there. So there hasn't been an official release from nknews.org and the Daily, which are both based in Seoul. And they work with diplomats within North Korea to get their news source. So it's kind of concerning for me at the moment. They haven't released anything, and it could be a number of things. One, they know the world's watching, and this guy's been really public about having international relations, more so than the other two. So if he did pass away from either corona or the surgery, that could really affect how things are run and how they present themselves in the country. So it's just all this kind of, they want to make sure their ducks are in a row and there's still a strong representation. So it's pretty crazy right now. So
yeah, it's wild to me just hearing that, thinking, first of all, I don't know much on the topic, like, and this is really fascinating to me to hear, like, you know, your stuff, like that something like this hinges or seems to hinge so much on just like one person's life, how much power has been just stacked up into, if this person makes it another day, what that means for how it all trickles down.
Yeah, and they're
really
actually, they're brainwashed from little kids to thinking like they have this godlike persona, this family, the Kim family. And even though like they have passed on, that succession is so important. So if his sister doesn't get it and it goes to more than likely this general of the regime, they're going to be like, oh, maybe. Now, maybe this is just an assumption. He's a human being. He's a monster of a human being. Terrible guy. But he's not part of the family. So what kind of psychological effect will that have on the rest of the people? We don't know. But there was this false hope when when the son became into power, like he had the chance to do something great, you know, to do something better. So there was like this false hope, and he opened up the economy just a little bit for people of our generation to make a living. And so there's this huge black market with China. And so you can get clothes, food, makeup, but the biggest, let me see if I can find it. The biggest source that what people want is this right here. They want USB ports. This has all the information they need. Now they can't just walk down the street with it. They have to hide it and stuff.
Wait. So what would you want to put on a USB then? That's
a great question. So think about this. Think of living in a nation where you have one, maybe two TV channels. Every household, especially in Pyongyang, the capital, which is considered a privilege to live there, they have a radio mounted in the wall. You can't turn it off, but you can turn down the volume. So it's all like the same source. So when you have a USB port from the outside of the country, it doesn't matter if it's music from South Korea, South Korean dramas, American movies, that's all vital information. That's what people are paying to get, so they can get a glimpse of the outside world. But if you're caught, that's actually a death sentence. If you're caught with one of those, it's a death sentence, which is insane. Because they don't want their people to know anything. And the cell towers, which are based in China, because they have cell phones, they don't have internet though. They are not allowed to have internet. So
that would really expose. That would really open things up quick, faster than a USB.
Exactly. And so one of the girls that I read, I think Miss Park is her name, and she had an incredible journey. She was one of the few that where her immediate family could cross over, one of the few. And she recalls a moment where she watched Titanic under the covers and in the laptop, and she was so scared that Leonardo DiCaprio had been executed because he did a movie about love, which they don't do in North Korea.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
that's how brainwashed these people are. And like, she used to think that, and this is very common, and a lot of these people have defected, like they can hear what I think, because they're taught from such a young age that they know everything, you know. And it's like, you gotta be careful if you talk to your neighbors. And but here's something else that's really crazy, is that, say for example, like your second cousin gets caught with a USB, or you know, for whatever reason, or something else minor that we would consider minor, he immediately will probably likely get executed, but then they'll take the entire immediate family to like a prison camp. So it's not uncommon for families to just disappear. So even though they may not have talked to him, or they didn't even know the situation.
Right. And they know, I'm sure, that this could affect my family if I step out of line at all.
Oh, absolutely. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a world that I have not, I don't know much about. And wow, to think that that's happening right now today, So like, what are the next steps then? Like, what does this mean for us sitting here? Like, do we start sending just USBs from?
Well,
like,
it doesn't work.
How do we do our part? You know?
Oh, that's a great question.
So interesting.
Well, so like that organization I told you about, Liberty North Korea, they're based in California, but they have ground operations in Seoul and China. So they work exclusively to obviously their operations are on hold due to the virus because North Korea shut down. But, you know, just educating people is the biggest thing. And that's been one of the most effective nonprofits for them. They've rescued over 1,000 people. So, yeah.
So what's like a rescue even look like? Like, I know so little about this, and I'm like soaking this in. Like every sentence I'm learning something right now, which is pretty pleasant.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know if you
wanted to go down very pleasant.
No, it's not pleasant at all. So a field operator, and they have a great video on their website, which I can send you all this later.
Sure.
So, like, say for example, you want to escape North Korea. Well, you have one option. Technically, you have one option. You obviously can't go to the DMZ. You can't go south. You have to go north to China. So and they all talk about the same river. There's a river that runs through near the border. They have to bribe like a guard or somebody like that just to cross or safely cross, but it doesn't always go as planned, obviously. So a lot of people will it's easier to cross when the river's frozen, but you're more likely to get seen and get shot at. Now, China has a contract with North Korea to send back North Koreans if they're caught. But if you do make it out, if you're lucky enough, you really want to keep going through China into Mongolia. Once you're a lot of people have had to cross through the Gobi Desert. And so once you reach Mongolian soil, that's when you can claim asylum. Because if you try to claim asylum in China, they'll send you back. Or if you're a woman, more than likely you're going to be sold right off the bat to some Chinese guy and you're stuck, you know? So, but there are people that are in China that work with this organization and others that are kind of underground and that do try to find these people and get them out. Easier said than done, obviously. But yeah, it's insane. It's insane. And like I said, we will have no concept of that psychologically.
Yeah, it really is tough to empathize for how much I do my best to empathize with all kinds of people. It's like, wow, that's something we watch or I would watch in a movie. And it's like, that's happening today as we speak, which is quite baffling to me right now.
And it actually started with the Korean War. Obviously, at the time, the economy was great because, you had the Russian support and the Chinese support, which they still have, but their industries are a bit more modern and very different than what it was in the 50s. So in North Korea, like Cuba, they just kind of encase themselves in a time capsule. So, and they ride on this ideology called Juche, which is, I can do my own thing, screw everybody else. I can do all my own resources. So it's not really communism to its core. It's more like self-sustaining, screw everybody else. I can do this myself. But what's happening is they're not doing that. They're taking everything away from the people. And what little money that they do get or aid, it just goes back to the regime. So these people are starving all the time. And because they won't open up to international trade or what have you, or something like that. But they do have some trade, just not a whole lot. I mean, there's a great fishing port and where China, Russia, and North Korea meet because all the fish is fresh there. And so they have that. And then they have this black market through China. So if you think about it, there's not a whole lot of options unless you work for the regime. And even still, you're not guaranteed food or money or anything. Everybody gets rations over there. It's crazy.
Man, I hope things crumble sooner than later. And it's really great to hear there's organizations out there doing what they can. And I'm grateful to be more informed about this. I really feel ignorant on the topic, to be honest. which
I
is
mean,
beautiful. I'm learning.
yeah, well, I didn't mean to start on a sober note, but
Oh, not at all. I mean, it's important. It's important. This is an important topic. I mean, it's people's lives we're talking about. Like, just last night, I watched Shawshank Redemption.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And just that idea of oppression and holding people against their will, innocent or not, or whatever it is. Like, there's just a lot of lines and a lot of gray area, and it definitely tugs at my soul to think of people that are exploited, or taken advantage of, especially out of, if their free will is taken out of the equation. Like, that doesn't sit well. So it's related to that topic. Like, that's a similar ish thing in real life going on in that part of the world. Free will, just nope, not here.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. They have no concept of freedom of speech or anything, or even what that might actually pertain to. You know, again, these people don't have access to the internet. They don't know what NASA is. They don't know anything other than what they've been fed or through the grapevine, if you will. And I've seen like the same psychological patterns with all these autobiographies I read, and the lady I spoke to, she she lives in South Korea now, and I just remember because my friend, he was doing when he lived in South Korea, he taught English for 3 years. He would feed the homeless people like every Saturday or something, and anyway, he mentioned about this lady, and so I guess that's how they met. I don't quite remember, but she used to make shoes in North Korea, and guess what? They were Nike shoes, and she said it didn't hit her. She left first, and then she had to go back to get her son. She said it didn't really hit her until she was walking to a mall. I don't know if it's China or South Korea, but and she saw those same exact shoes being sold for like $200 or $300, and she just says she just broke down because she had never seen that much kind of money before, you know. So it's insane. Yeah, but I always tell people, like, if you you know, in any topic, just read and research. Like, that's the best thing you can do, you know, to find out. And that organization, you know, they have like monthly sponsorships, like all their merchandise goes to everything. And they just did a press conference on COVID-19, which I was lucky to be a part of, because if you're a sponsor, you get to get all the ins and outs of some of the events that they do. So they did like a conference, but it wasn't through Zoom, it was something else. And talking about COVID-19, how it's affecting the country and things like that. And they said they had to put their operations on hold. But they're doing everything they can to see what they can do. But but they made up a good point, because it's a scary time for especially newcomers just starting a new life that are alone. They don't know who to trust. So if they try to go and knock on the door and check on them, they might think it's the police, you know. So it's just a scary time, you know. I mean, for everybody.
Yeah, it's hard to find the silver lining in moments like, I had to be so sparing for watching the news or checking in with what's going on.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to a musician just a few days back, Pierce, about how much we watch the news, and it's like, I know we are both saying how like it's so important to know what's going on, but at the same time, like, find that balance of not getting swept away by it, because then you're like not helpful if you're just cut off at your own knees from feeling so overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
So like finding that balance is something I've been trying to find, of like staying aware and staying positive.
Yeah, it's
to be
hard.
aware of all the negativity and aware of it is like, it takes a certain strength and disassociation yet empathy. It's like both.
Yeah. I actually shut off the news feature on my phone, because I'm like, I don't even want to look at it. Like, and I'll just go on like Google News or something and just get like a scope instead, because it's just so overwhelming, and you don't really know. It's just all this information at once, and it's partially the having access to it, and it's partially like anyone can write anything, you know, and so you don't know who to trust. So that's why I didn't necessarily agree or disagree that he is dead, because I didn't hear from those two organizations yet.
Right.
And I know for a fact that they work with diplomatic resources. So I'm like, you know, to me, that's a sign of unbiasedness. They want to make sure they get the right information and how it's going to go down. So, but it was just, it was really hard for me not to like argue with people online on Facebook and be like, oh, you got it wrong. Because they're just posting like random stuff. But I'm like, I should just let it go.
Yeah.
But it's tough, you know, it's a tough time. Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah.
It's like our greatest gift right now, to stay connected for the first time ever in isolation, and also this huge thing that we don't know how to use in our day-to-day life. It's like it's definitely my biggest distraction for sure. Like just going out for a walk outside, where I'm in a place where I can get a little bit outside of this apartment and it's okay. I'm not around people. And like just an hour of not being by my phone is almost like an accomplishment. Like
yeah, because you know, when you go to sleep, do you always feel like you're reaching for your phone when you go to bed?
I've luckily made a habit to, when I get into bed, to put my phone on the charger, and it's like it's done.
Yeah.
So when my body hits the bed, it's like, now's the time when you sleep, not like a mixture of phone and up and like once it's on the charger, sit down, I'm going into sleep mode.
That's great.
Yeah. I've been playing with guided sleep meditations. I don't know for sure. I wouldn't put my I wouldn't like bet on it either way, yes or no, but it's something I've been playing with. Just like putting on a guided meditation where it just like talks you down, helps. Well, I guess for one, it definitely helps you relax. Usually it like helps you take a few deep breaths. There's various YouTube videos and channels. One I love is called Doxy. He has just simple guided sleep meditations, and it usually involves like taking a few deep breaths and relaxing, and then planting a few like positive or just uplifting perspectives like into your last few moments of wakefulness, and then you just drift off. And that's been nice to help kind of calm me down and settle me in.
I'm trying to make it a habit of meditating before I go to sleep. Really, just it's been tricky because like it's a noisier neighborhood, you know, and I'm like, okay, I can't control that, but and things like that. So I usually just sleep with like some kind of rain music or something. Just try to drown that out. But
I love rain.
That's good. I love that you have that meditation thing going on. That's awesome. That guidance.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I don't know how to quantify like, oh, it's helped my life 22%. But I mean, for one, it's kind of habitual in the sense that if I do it consistently, which I have, that like once I hit play on my phone and I'm off my phone for not texting anymore, like it's time for bed, hit play and I go down, it's like brushing my teeth. Like it's habitual. I'm going to go to sleep now. And that's been helpful. So for that, I can share.
That's
Other than
awesome.
that, the rest, who knows?
That's great.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
So what else is happening in your world?
Oh man.
Like any new books you're coming across that are catching your attention, or a recent movie or recent conversation that's interesting? Yeah.
Well, my friend Jess, her and I used to work in retail together. She's coming out with her first book tomorrow. It's her poems. It's her collection of poems. So I'm like really proud of her because she's made the book herself. She's published it herself. So she's starting from like nothing. So I'm like really happy for her. And I'm excited to read it, even though I kind of proofread it a while back. It's really deep. And it's just like, you know, it's all these core feelings that nobody wants to talk about, you know, in a style of her own. So I'm really looking forward to the published release tomorrow. I think it's available for pre-orders tomorrow. So I've been super excited. It's also her birthday today, so it just like worked out.
Happy
For
birthday,
her.
Jess.
Yeah. I'll just send her. And actually, she has met you. So when you guys were in the band, I
Yeah.
told her to go check you guys out, and she's like, "Oh, I talked to John, and like I sing a little like harmony with him." I'm like, "That's so cool."
What Jess? I know a few. I feel like I know a few Jesses. I wonder if
Well, her full name is actually Justiny, but she goes by Jess sometimes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's
So
sweet. Is this a new
like,
thing for her? Like, as
mm-hmm.
first book or first
Well,
thing?
she's talked about it for years, and we've gotten together a few times about it, how she could do it, and I told her to hit up Marcus, a maker and stuff. So since he's got the his new stuff going on, so I was like, talk to him. He's really cool. See what you can get out of it, and yeah. So and she finally did it. So she was having like technical difficulties, of course, but now she's like, it's finally put together. So like, I'm
Nice.
really happy for her, and I'm excited to read it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So has that been like? So how long have you been writing? Because is that like sort of like a mentor sort of
Oh
thing of
yeah.
like helping her through like
I
you're
never thought
definitely
of
gonna
that,
have
but
you're gonna have technical difficulties. Like don't expect it to go to plan. Good luck releasing
no.
something. Because you've
Yeah.
been writing and releasing things for a minute now.
Yeah. So I've been writing for my whole life. I just didn't realize it was like my passion.
Mm.
And I didn't get my first like actual writing gig until it was 2006, I want to say. So like MySpace was the big thing. And so I found like all these musicians I could talk to, and it was really intimate. And there was this lady who used to be a promoter for Carnegie Hall in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, hey, I know these websites and here and here all over the world that need writers to do reviews and EPs. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And we would get paid every month. So
Sarah just popped in.
hey, Sarah.
She can't hear you, but everyone's saying hey. No one's actually watching, but we're just here. So the Carnegie Hall connection, I'm following.
Yeah, so I started writing for this electronic music website that was based in Vancouver. And we would get paid every month based on how many clicks and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then she connected me with a guy in London who had less like a blogger website, but just more focused on one specific genre, which was trance music. And so, which is cool because I like that too. But that kind of opened the door for me to like meet artists and DJs and go to shows for free. So it was really such a huge experience. But the problem was there's just a lot of politics involved, and it doesn't pay well. So like I would still have to go to work. Then I have to take time to go to Charlotte to interview this DJ that just flew in and book a hotel room out of my expense and etc. Although I don't regret the experience. It's just a hard industry to get into. And then over time, I realized that my words were being changed a little bit from the draft to the actual publication. So I was like, I'm out, I'm good, I'm done. And then I just went through this period where I just didn't write because I didn't listen to a lot of music. I was like, I didn't know what to do. And, I was tired of working retail. And, but I had made a kind of established connections with other people. They had seen my work, and these two Italian guys reached out to me through email. They're like, hey, we want somebody to write our press releases and EPs, and we saw your work on this website. We thought it was great. And now they're playing all over the world now, so which is really cool. Wow. So they would pay me to do that. And then I just decided to do my own blog. I was like, screw it, I can do this. So
yes, I was ready for that. Like, yeah. That's the world we live in now, baby. Let's go.
And then now, from the time I started, which was 2006, so 2010 was kind of when I started with the blog, and it was, kind of immature looking, if you will.
That's early. That's pretty early for that's sort of, I don't know when blogs actually hit the scene, but
yeah, probably around that time. Yeah, probably around that time. So it wasn't the most professional looking, but it was like, oh, but I still didn't know exactly what to write around. So I'd have like a recipe in there, and then like album reviews. It was kind of like scattered, but then, and then, you know, over time I realized, mostly a couple of years ago, I really love documentaries and storytelling. And then so I was like, let me focus on that. I have enough, you know, PR email that comes in daily for reviews and interviews and stuff like that, which I'm thankful for, but it's overwhelming. It really is. And then I have to tell these people like, and I realized one day I was like, I don't have to write about this because I don't like it. You know, it's not my style. So I'll tell them, be like, no, thank you. You know, gangster rap's not my thing. So, you know, but, and then the Global Culture Series is the new thing that I've been working on for about a year now. So I've interviewed people all around the world and showed their story in their own words. And that seems to be really popular. So I really want to stick with that in addition to the music. So I've got a team working on my new website to where it'll have music journalism and then the Global Culture Series separate. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So how long was that sort of phase of, or maybe it's still an ongoing phase of experimenting, of figuring out, like, here's a recipe and here's a album review, and like, I can really relate to that, and I'm sure that other people are going through that too, of like, we think, or I think sometimes I have to have a narrow focus. Like, we were talking about this in one of our previous conversations, how like in the eyes of some people, I'm a musician, and to me, in the eyes of myself, I think I'm more than that. Like, why not be able to have conversations with people in the format of a podcast, or have a recipe blog and music on Spotify and do this? Like, why not? And there's definitely something to be said about having a narrow focus to really dominate maybe a certain area. But I mean, if you feel called to experiment and really just learn more about what your taste is, and then it seems like you came to that point where like, oh, like I actually vibe with this more, I can do this more justice. So it's actually a no thank you to this, because there's someone else out there that might do it better, or like just naturally would tend to that better. We're writing reviews on certain topics or certain albums, where I'm actually experiencing that right now. Like, I'm sending out some of my music now to curators and people that have access to the Spotify playlist, and it's like I wouldn't send it to the wrong genre. Like like that would be, I would be getting a no right off the bat. So it's wise for me to look for more of a match, like songs that are similar to mine, and because that's just naturally gonna make it easy for them to write about, or for them to be like, oh yeah, this is great, like thank you. It's almost like you did all the work for us by finding us, and I want to do this, versus like, this is actually isn't a fit. No.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because with my Spotify list, I realize I have a knack for curating music. So if you play it in the order I have, it flows a lot more. You wouldn't think that Logic would flow into, you know, Madonna or classical music, but the way I've set it up is that way, for me anyway. But I think you brought up a good point. And so this figuring out what works has been years worth of work, and it's still ongoing to this day. And it's part of a deep-rooted thing of, you know, facing your inner demons. So, and just getting through that depression stuck stage and finding what works. And I remember, and actually Taylor with 9 to 5, that has been such a great challenge. That really retweaked my writing like 180 altogether. So I really appreciate that opportunity, because it's been able to kind of catapult my Global Culture Series into a better writing. And it's something I've learned with when I took music and music appreciation at Trident. A long time ago, I had Wilton Elder was my teacher, and he's a saxophonist here. He's in this group called Super Deluxe, I think. I don't know if it's still together. But he would always say, he's like, every audition is an audition for the next one. And I think of my writing the same way. So every interview I do, every review I do is just one for the next one.
Ooh.
So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What popped in my head is like, you're only as good as your last at bat. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to carry the song that I released 5 years ago into this conversation. Like, we can just be in this now and write the best song now today, have the best conversation today, and then tomorrow you and I will do the best writing or the best songwriting or whatever it is when we get there. But right now we're right here having the best of this moment.
Yeah, and that's something that's really hard for me. That's hard for me because I'm so always thinking about the past and the future. So it's really hard for me to be in the present. And it's something I'm learning as I'm going along. Because what I'll think is like, I had no idea that podcasting would be a career. You know, and I'm like, well, if I would have stuck with that, maybe that would have happened. But getting out of that backtracking, getting out of that mindset and fixing your environment has been the biggest and best challenge for me. So, and you know, I'll fill you in a little bit, so not to go too deep, but you know, I've always had this feeling that I belong somewhere else. So my goal, you know, when the country kind of opens up a little bit, or the world, is to go to different countries, figure out where I can plant my roots, and then go from there. But it takes a lot of, you know, restriction and discipline to be like, okay, I don't want to live here anymore. Why don't I want to live here anymore? Figure out why those things pop up, and then, okay, what can I do to change it? And that's the thinking that I had to get out of, like a emotional thinking. That's what my friend calls it. So, and yeah, and then I realized over time, like I was such an emotional, like that's all I could go on because that's all I knew. And so then I realized when, you know, it's like when you get education, you start educating yourself, whether it be school or work or whatever, then you realize like how much your value is and how much you can change your actual environment and move forward. But you got to be willing to take the hits, not to be like a Rocky reference, but you're going to fall, you're going to make mistakes, and that's just life, you know?
Mm-hmm. So to back up a little bit, I was curious about what was some of the shift that went on of like being more involved with 9 to 5 with the 180 shift, like, and you're saying how it's like a catalyst in some way. How has that helped you like transition into where you're going?
So much. You know,
yeah, I would love to hear a little more on that. It's like, seems like I could tell like had like some sort of catalyst to it, like propelled you into this new part to have like this two things going on your website to help you.
Like, yeah, when I hold those books, and it's not just my article, it's everyone, like I'll go through and read every single one because they're that good, you know, and it's a community effort. But I remember the first time seeing it, I remember Taylor called me, you know, this was after CFC, like right after, she was like, I got this crazy idea. And I was like, let's do it. So, you know, and seeing my name in print was like so just liberating. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, and I was like, this is a solid resume reference right here. You know, not just the online thing, but a physical copy. Not many people are doing that physical copy. They can go and find that. So, and her and I had some quabbles with the writing process, you know, and she was the one that was like, have you ever written like as a storyteller? And I was like, you know what, I haven't. It's always been Q&A. And then I realized Q&A like is terrible. Like to me, that's like the worst interview you could do. You know, you can use it as a guideline. So what I'll do now is I'll have questions, I'll have them answer it, I'll highlight what I need to, and then I'll form it into an actual story. And I think that's more powerful than being like, what's your favorite color or your favorite influences, you know, the same stuff. Mm-hmm. And so she really helped push that for me, whether she attended to or not, and with 9 to 5. So and then I go back and read them and I'm like, I can't believe I wrote that, you know, like it's crazy. So yeah. And now with the website, like people are reaching out to me. I had a guy from Austria. So cool. He's on one of my favorite record labels called Loci Records, LOCI. And so they do like kind of ambient down tempo electronic music. So, and he's a break dancer. And so we reached out, and then he was able to do an interview for me. So I was like super excited about that. So Yeah.
Nice.
So, it's really changed my perception on writing, and then how I think. And then like the old me would be like, oh, I'm a terrible writer because I didn't know I feel like I messed up. And the new me is like, okay, I just didn't know how to write properly, so let me correct that and move on. So
Wow. So it just evolved. It's
totally.
and storytelling. What a big thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we've all heard in many ways just the power of story. And it's
you
something
touched
like,
up on that. You did, like, 'cause that's what Sandra came from, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The word Sonder meaning everyone has a story, right? And it's funny, like, it hasn't been till recently that I've been trying to share my story and just own my story, which I think there's a fine line there because I know there's a lot of ego involved also sometimes in story and like over emphasizing things to bolster yourself up or to undermine things or make things seem less important to like kind of be the victim, like, ooh, boo-hoo me kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like either way, the ego is kind of bouncing between maybe one of those two options versus like kind of this neutral story in the middle that's brings you more peace and you don't have to try to share it or tell it. It just kind of is. And that's sort of where I'm at right now. I'm trying to tell my story and feel where I'm off, where I'm out of alignment. Because most of my life, it seems like my ego has been in the driver's seat, whether I know it or not. And I don't think I have a huge ego.
You don't, but I think what I understand is that you where you get your fuel from and understanding yourself better. I think that's your main goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even having conversation like this right now, like this is so cool to connect on this level. And it's like we're being mirrors for each other to learn and to grow and to be like a catalyst to just connect and share. Like that seems to be it's honest. What the word satsang I'm reading about right now, I guess it's like a meeting of truth is the essence of the word.
Okay.
And it's like something like a podcast really is that. It's like two people or however many people coming together and just like sharing what they're up to, and that the ego doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have to humble yourself and just like learn and listen and
Yeah, but I think that to me that kind of stems back to environment, who you surround yourself with. And I noticed like when I made like an internal change, it took forever. It did. It took forever. But I noticed like people who I wouldn't really thought of, they're like, "Oh, you're so cool. I want to hang out with you." They kind of gravitate towards you, and I was like, "That's cool." You know, like you don't think about it until you make that change and kind of step outside yourself. But it's such a, you know, I don't think I think the reason why many of us will not get to that enlightenment level is because this is a lifelong process. Like everything that we're going through, you know, and even now, like I'm 2 steps better than where I was in December, you know. So yeah, but a lot of people are just now talking about this, and it is really important to have that mental stability as well as your environment, what you eat, things like that.
Yeah, the food. Yeah. It's crazy when I think about food as like people I'm hiring. They're like employees. Like, do you want to hire like a bunch of donuts today? Like, kinda, but I know they might not get a really great job done.
I've never thought of that.
I don't think about that very often, but it has crossed my mind a couple times.
You know what? Don't hate me, but I've never liked donuts.
That's okay. I don't mind. That's cool.
Yeah. So when you mean like hire, you're like, okay, is it a way for you to be like, do I want to put this in my body?
Yeah. Yeah. And like what quality you're expecting. And it kind of helps with expectations too. If I were to eat 12 donuts after this podcast, like I can be honest with myself, like that probably wasn't a good hire. Like they might not get a good job done for me if I want to go for a run after that or something. It might be like those won't match. And it just kind of depends what you want too. Like, that kind of brings up a more of a even higher perspective, perhaps, of like what really matters to you. Like, if you really want to enjoy donuts and you don't, like, that's totally cool too. Like, it just depends like what everyone wants for themselves to create.
Have you ever done fasting?
A little bit,
A
not
little bit.
multiple days, but I have been playing with intermittent fasting for years. I love
Okay,
intermittent
cool.
fasting.
Yeah. How does it affect you?
It's really simple. I mean, I got it from this guy Kino Body on YouTube. He's like have you heard of him? Maybe
Wait, did you say keto or kino?
Kino,
Kino. Like,
Kino. It's this guy
Okay.
Grego Gallagher. And when I was just getting into college at CFC, I was really, really focused on fitness. Like, my external everything was focused around the lens of fitness. It was like, all right, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about calories, my macros, my micro, like everything. I'm going to measure. I'm going to have this rigid schedule. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be super strict and disciplined. And I was really setting myself up to dig this big hole of uh, just problems, a lot of imbalance, and not very loving, like very hard on myself and very cyclical and problematic. So what started as like a good intention on the surface of like, oh, I want to get healthy and have a really good work ethic and all these things, really it was coming from, when I look back on it, it was coming from a place of insecurity and needing to think I need to look a certain way, and just like, I'm not enough, essentially, is the underlying feeling of that whole spiral and journey. And that led me into like really poor eating habits and staying up late and smoking tons of weed and just like tons of just too much and out of control. And what I learned after that, sort of once it settled into rock bottomness, it's like, oh, that's not sustainable. So it taught me this profound lesson of sustainability, which I think, like, if I think back on my story, that was one of those checkpoints of like a scene that was like, okay, sustainability is important. You don't want to be on a diet. So now I don't think of myself going on a diet. I that's no such thing for me. I think a lifestyle. Like, what's your overall
That's a
lifestyle?
mental trigger, right?
Say what?
That's a mental trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think of lifestyle now for how I make decisions. Like, if I could do yoga when I'm 90, could I do ridiculous, overhead bench press and things, all that stuff? Like, maybe not. But the essence of the thing that I had learned or took out from that experience was create more of a lifestyle than a 6 week, I'm not going to love myself, and that sort of mentality.
That's so great. I'm glad you brought that up because, it started out as a positive message. You're like, oh, this is, fitness. We tend to think of like, oh, when you're a fitness person, like, that's a good thing.
Right.
But too much of it is a bad thing. And then all these, and there was quite a few people that were like, the diet, one fit diet doesn't work, because everybody's different.
Right.
And yeah, so going at it for too much or too little, either way. But you seem like you found something that works for you now and stuff. And I'm still working on that too. So I try to do farmers markets. Like, I try to eat farmers market food as much as possible.
Homegrown sounds right. Feels right, I'm sure too.
It does. It has made a difference. But I still have like a weird relationship with food. So it's hard. Like, so I went on like a 7-day fast like a couple of years ago, and like my taste buds changed dramatically after that, obviously.
Whoa, tell me about that.
Well, I wasn't feeling right. Like, I just didn't feel good. And so there was like some health concerns and complications, and they couldn't tell me what was wrong, but I was in pain all the time. And so
that's before the fast?
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, got it.
Let me try it. And then when I realized that, I lost like 10 pounds, which is
In 7 days.
In 7 days.
You just
And it was just like tea and water and lemon. And I was so sick of water with lemon, like I wanted to vomit. Like,
yeah.
But, and I don't care what anybody says, the hunger pains never go away. They never do. Never. Like they're always there. But you don't have to spend time or money cooking or making food. You try to do something else.
Right.
And then, but I had this headache for like 5 out of the 7 days, just full on headache and shakes and everything. So it was actually really unhealthy towards the end of it. So I was glad I like stopped when I did, because it could have been really dangerous. But then I remember everything I tasted. It was like, it tastes like shit, like everything.
Even afterwards?
Yeah, like verde salad. I used to love salads from there, and I was like, I couldn't eat it.
Wow.
Like everything tasted so differently. And that's when I realized, like, I have to change. Like, I have to make that initial change. But it's hard. Like, you try to taste food, you try to be open-minded, but you can see what works. And then I realized I was getting acid reflux and all kinds of issues just learning from that fast.
Mm-hmm. So. Have you done anything like that again?
I'll do like a 1-day fast, like once a month. I just want to be careful because there's always that one part of me that like I want to keep going, so I have to be really careful about that. Mm-hmm. And then it's the same with food. Like I want to be like, oh, it's so good, I want to keep eating, So
right.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is I have this one bowl. It's like about this big, and I'll just eat that, and then just wait till I'm like actually hungry to eat again.
Wow, that's such a good practice. And
it's hard.
I've not got that one down. I am aware of the fact that I eat really fast still. Okay. And like now I'm like getting more and more hyper aware of it. Like it would be good, and I'm glad to be talking about it. This is just another reminder to slow down when I'm eating.
Yeah, and I used to like eat right when I woke up. I'm like, I'm always hungry, but and it actually hurt my body more. So what I'll do now is have like a glass of water or some tea, wake it up, start moving around a bit, and then be like, okay. And I've noticed like my brain will be like, this is what I want to eat. I don't just want to eat, but this is what my body wants to eat. If that makes sense.
Ooh, so like after you've been fasting or like not eating right away,
Yeah, just waking up naturally and just letting the body come to life, if you will. Mm-hmm. Like you'll know it, and I've had people tell me this. They're like, over time, like your body will tell you what it wants to eat. So yeah.
Yeah,
it's like that. You just gotta listen to it, but it's like, well, what am I listening for? But then one day you'll be like, I really want salmon. Why am I craving salmon?
Right. Wow. Yeah. What an interesting thing to notice. Yeah, I typically skip breakfast.
Okay.
At least that's what's been my current flow for the last few years now. I mean, if it pops up or I go to breakfast with my grandparents or like something, it's obviously, I think it's okay, of course. But I do like it, the idea of just drinking water, hydrating. I usually have a cup of coffee. Okay. And but I've been playing with caffeine though. I haven't, like you're saying, how sometimes our bodies sort of tell you what to eat or drink. Recently I've noticed I've been not wanting to drink as much coffee, so I've been drinking less each day.
Wow. When did you come with that conclusion?
I'm not sure. Like, I my relationship with caffeine and coffee in general is, one, I love the taste of coffee, and two, I think my belief around it is to drink coffee and enjoy coffee. But if I ever feel like I'm becoming dependent of it, that's where I have like this little trigger go up of like, yep, you're hitting that threshold where now it's habitual to the point where, yes, you're enjoying it, but like you need it. And I always have brought that sort of awareness to my relationship with coffee and caffeine, where I enjoy it and keep it pretty simple. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there that I have friends even that have drank 7 cups of coffee a day, and that's never really been my vibe. But
yeah.
I
I
guess
know
I'm a
people that have,
lightweight.
yeah, like my parents, they'll have like a pot of coffee on all the time,
Yeah, all
except
day.
when I go
Even
to
like,
sleep.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, all the time.
which is
Yeah.
wild. And yeah, I don't really know that one. It seems to be that caffeine might not be. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be able to say either way. Just got to listen to your body.
Easier said than done. I've actually
Yeah.
like I've gone off the rails recently, to be quite frank. So I was on this like Snickers ice cream bar kick.
Oh, that sounds so good.
I know, and I was like, I don't know what it is. So when I went through the 7 day fast, you crave the most bizarre things. Like I was craving like Kraft macaroni and cheese since I hadn't had since I was a kid, and like
Whoa.
just like random stuff. And I'm like, why do I want powdered like mac and cheese? You know what I mean? So, but lately it was like this. I don't know what it was about Snickers ice cream bar that I just craved so much. I wanted it more than like the granola cookies that Annie makes, or just what I normally would get, my dark chocolate with fruit. Like I just wanted that thing. And so so I went to the store one day and I got one and I ate it and it was delicious. And then I realized every day I wanted one until I got to the point where like I had like the box
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the
You
freezer.
got them
And
on
then
stock.
I was like, this is a problem. There's something wrong. Like, why am I addicted to this? So,
Mm.
um, so then I told myself after that last bar in the box, no more. And that was a couple days ago. So, but I don't know what it was. It was just that one initial feeling, which it sounds weird, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yo, for man, like that is a tough one. I relate to you on the food thing. Um, it's weird. Like what seems to be the most helpful for me, and this is definitely easier said than done.
Yeah.
I really try not to judge myself for when I do eat anything that might not be quote unquote healthy, whether it be Snickers, cookies, brownies, whatever it is. Um, it's like if I go into the intention of just pure childlike enjoyment, then I almost like get over it faster. Or I'm like, oh, like just one was like great, like that was awesome. But if I go into it thinking like, oh snap, like I don't know if I trust myself, then it's almost like I'm like dragging myself through it, and I'm like, oh dang it, I'm on this slippery slope now. My feet are. Um, I don't know if there's any science to back that up, but that's just like something subtle I've noticed.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's just human error. you know?
Our willpower is jank when
Yeah.
it comes to high fructose
Work.
corn syrup.
I don't know, but then I'll see something like, for me, I love gymnastics. Like that's my favorite sport. So I'll see like, and I got off Twitter because the only thing I was doing on Twitter was like watching gymnastic videos, and I'm like, I can do the same thing with YouTube and Instagram. So like, I just got rid of Twitter, and so, but like, I'll see something inspirational, and I'm like, crap, okay, let me just remind myself, like, you know, and just not to go overboard with certain things. And gymnastics is one of those sports where you really have to be so in tune with your body, just to do that stuff. So, and that's why I like it,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Mm-hmm.
What other than gymnastics, or if you want to go into gymnastics, are activities or things that help you get present or centered, or
Well, the yoga's been helping me so much. Like
yeah,
I feel like I get a body tune up every time.
yeah, I believe it. So how recent has that been?
I guess since the lockdown, when she started doing like the live feeds, I'm like, oh, let me jump on that,
Yeah.
because sometimes I can't always make it out to the beach sessions. So, and since then, like she'll do it from her porch, which has a beautiful view of like angel trees and stuff. But and then like because I've tried like some of the at home workout videos, and I just not that into it. But I don't know. It's like I guess it's like her voice and the way she moves. It resonates for me enough to just stick with it for the full hour.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel amazing. Like I feel like I mean the first day I did it, like afterward I started cleaning, I started doing all this productive stuff, and then you just feel better, obviously. Yeah. But that, and and reminding myself of my goals, I always have like constant, and so my savings, when I do like the automatic savings, I put little notes in there like, keep going, you got this, like.
Wow.
Like that, so.
For your finances. That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Do you use like an app or something for that? Sorry to bounce another way. Is that just all like manual?
It is, but I have more of an obsession. I hate to say it, it's like an obsession. So every week I'll I'll do my finances, and I used to be like, okay, every dollar has to go somewhere. That was my thinking, and then I realized like it's hurting me a lot, because then I'll forget things or something will come up or what have you. And then now it's like I've cut back so much from going out to eat and just buying things I don't need. And then, I just had to really reevaluate, like, what do I really want? Well, I want to leave the country, but I can't do that if I'm spending 60% of my pay on X, Y, and Z. And then you got utilities and what have you, and car insurance. And then I found that just by doing that, like just getting that mindset, I can now, I can see the bigger picture now. It's coming together. But I used to check it, like, I used to check my savings every day, and that's bad for me because I'm trying to look for that bigger picture. And so I'll just check it every like week or 2 weeks or whatever, and that helps. But I also like playing around with numbers, so I can be like, well, for example, if you want to save up for something, and you take that amount or general amount and you divide it by, let's say, 52 weeks or however long it would take you to get to that mark. Then I can know what I can put away in that time period, But I'm an exception because I'm working right now and a lot of people aren't. So I know it's really hard to kind of focus on those finances and emergency savings. So, I'm definitely fortunate that I can still get a paycheck right now. So, so it's even more fuel to the fire for me to just keep saving because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Right. It seems wise. That's good on you, and good on SpongeBob too.
Oh yeah, the party.
Patrick, man,
he's
SpongeBob.
You like SpongeBob better?
Oh, I don't know if I could pick a favorite.
Because they're both great.
They're both necessary.
And Gary, I love Gary. He's cool too.
Gary,
the cat.
Did you watch a lot of SpongeBob?
I did. Like, I remember in high school, I had the shower curtain, the SpongeBob shower curtain.
Yes.
And I remember we had in my school we had foreign students from Holland and Germany, and they loved SpongeBob. They were like, oh my god, this is so cool. And so I remember she loved Gary, like my one friend from Holland. So like on her last week of school, I bought her this giant plush Gary that I found at Target, whatever, and she was just like so, and you press the shell and it meowed, like, so, yeah.
I love SpongeBob.
It's just so.
I know. I've always quoted the one. He was cutting the panties, and you know that one. You know it? Yeah, you wouldn't be laughing otherwise. Yes.
And he has such a positive outlook on life. Like, I think there wasn't that many episodes where he was really, really down for the whole episode, And even though his best friend's really stupid, like, they were so positive,
Patrick, we love you.
Yeah, we do. Actually, he's on. So Patrick and Squidward are on Twitter.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
That's pretty funny. Do they just does someone run the account and quote things from the actual seasons?
Well, they'll quote, and then they'll bring it up to modern times. Like, they'll say something, in a Squidward-like way or what have you.
Got it.
So yeah.
They're paraphrasing. Got you. Or they're riffing off. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
That's lovely.
That's lovely. Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
So what else is happening on today's agenda? Not to get us out of the present moment, but
like what's going on?
You've already done some yoga today?
Yeah. So I'm gonna clean and Plain kind of read a little bit. I've been reading, so let me see what like, I have this unorthodox way of reading. So this is one I'm reading right now.
Ooh,
I don't know if you can see that.
That looks sweet. Yeah, the House of Wisdom.
Yeah. So
looks beautiful.
And yeah, and so when I went to 2 years ago, I went to Qatar, which is right next to Saudi Arabia, if you don't know. And it was one of the most liberating experiences I've ever had. Like, food was amazing, people were cool, just the lifestyle in general. You know, no country is perfect, but it was wonderful to be in that place. And so there's this beautiful museum called the Islamic Museum of Arts in Doha, and it's right on the water, right on the coast. And it's just, they had the history of stuff like this where, you know, where they brought to the table, like Arabs in general. And they had one room that was just everything that had to do with astrology, just one room. And I was just like mesmerized. I'm like, that's just incredible. And we don't realize, like, you know, the history and everything like that goes into that. So that was such a cool experience to know a little bit about their history and how much they've changed the world in a sense of view, you know, not just, and I learned from just reading this that Arabic used to be, I don't know if it still is, but one of the scholarly languages to learn. So if you wanted to do trade in the world, you had to learn Arabic back in the day. So yeah. Wow. I don't know. I tried to learn Arabic. I tried to do it at CFC, and I think it took like an intro, and I couldn't even say no correctly. It was so hard.
Jeez. Yeah, we'd have to learn that one.
Yeah.
Do you want to trade this? My answer is always yes.
Yeah.
That reminds me of really random side note. There's this woman, Lisa Nichols, that I absolutely appreciate and love. She's like a transformational coach.
Okay.
That might be the most broad way to describe her. And she was in some foreign country, and she was telling the story how someone in a different language was inviting her to go to this party later or to an event later, and she didn't speak the language. So the translator was like, "Hey, do you want to go to this party?" And so Lisa is like, "Tell this person I'll try to go." And the translator translates it, and she'll try to go. And then it comes back, and the translator says, "So are you gonna go to the party?" And then Lisa's like, "Tell this person I'll try to go." And then it comes back again. He's like, "It's yes or no." Like, there's no try in this. The language doesn't have the word try.
That's so funny.
Which is interesting because today, I was just talking with Sarah about the polarity of yes and no. And this is an interesting topic that might be a bit of a rabbit hole, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts. Like if is everything, I think it was Einstein that had a quote something along the lines of, do we live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe, or does everything matter or does nothing matter? And it's like one of those spiritual paradoxes, which is truly a rabbit hole.
Yes.
But I was journaling about it, and it seems like in this life, a lot of people maybe ping pong back between both. Like, does it matter that you pick up the trash and recycle it, or does it not matter? Like, because there's trash everywhere. What does it matter if I get just this one? And there seems to be a variety of, like, your people are back and forth between, does that matter? Does that not matter? And I was journaling about this, trying to like make sense of it. And it's like, well, it's like we need both, maybe, perhaps. And how do we balance the two? And balance the two, I guess. See them both for what they are. And I'm not sure if that brings up any inspiration or thoughts for you.
Well, I will say this. I had a recent conversation with a good friend of mine, and after the conference with the COVID-19 in North Korea that there's only about 300 of us. So someone in the chat room had suggested introducing this app for the refugees that get put into place so they can have someone to talk to in times like these. And at first I was like, this is genius, right? You know, they need some kind of support. But now my friend, he's a very scientific thinker. So he will knock you down. And that's exactly what he did, but in his own way. And I didn't take offense to it because we're good friends. And he was like, that's a failed plan from the start. And he's like you said, they don't understand the internet. They don't know who's watching them. How do you know some North Korean person is going to log in there and monitor their every move or who they talk to or what have you?
Yeah, like it might hurt them more.
Yeah. And so he's like, you guys are just thinking about the passion of the project, but you don't have the resources. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with. There's so much I wanted to. Like, I have a friend who runs an orphanage in Uganda. I want to help him. If I could send him money every week, but I can't because I don't have those kind of resources myself. So, and then I realized, like, holy cow. Well, if I do me and it works out well, then I could help somebody else. But you can't help somebody else until you help yourself. You know?
That's a big topic.
Yeah, and it's just, and it just like,
that one.
You know, but those are the conversations like him and I have, or other friends will have, and stuff. But we were so dead set on that app, on making this app, that we didn't even think about the endless failures that could go wrong with it. And I think, you know, like, you could, not to get too political, but, you know, with recycling, there's so many people that are like, you need to recycle, you know. It could, but if you try to break down how recycling is done in the U.S. by state, they're not the same. So how do we know that the landmine, or the landfill, not landmine, but the landfill that's in Johns Island, West Ashley, isn't just a pile of garbage, you know? So, you know, that's a hard topic to really.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be like one of those questions that we might not know a very specific answer on, but it's definitely interesting to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Have you been watching anything or reading anything that's like really kind of triggered for you?
Yeah, let's go within and see what pops up. Meditation's been really nice, I will say. I love what Joe Dispenza is up to, if that rings any bells.
Does not.
He's I don't even know if I want to put a label on, like a modern day mystic, and holding all these seminars right now, essentially meditations, and helping and teaching people. He has an interesting story. So he was a biker at one point in his life and had a really nearly fatal accident that paralyzed him. And one way or another, through what he would claim is meditation of imagination and overcoming his body, he healed himself, which against all odds and all these crazy things. And he said he made a promise to himself, if he could heal himself and recover from this paralyzation, that he would dedicate the rest of his life, which he had the brains for. I think he was a biker, but also like super into the brain. And I don't quite know his full backstory, but that's the essence of it. And now today he's teaching, and there's a lot of interviews online with him, and he holds these meditations and retreats. And so just a few days ago, he was talking about how he released this new meditation you could follow along to. It's like 15 minutes long, and made a hashtag for it called GoLove20. I think sort of like a pun for COVID-19, to just give people an outlet or something to guide them along to open their hearts and meditate. And it's guided, so you just listen and feel. And as far as another thing that's been interesting is quantum mechanics, the quantum field. And he sort of bridges that gap of spirituality and science in a lot of his conversations, which is interesting to see how those are more and more communicating with one another. Yeah. And it seems to be that when we're meditating, and when I think of you or think of my friend or think of my grandma, just as we can send a text through a phone, like we can send that energy with just feeling it, and radiate that through just time and space as we know it. And it doesn't need to go through a phone. It could just go through our feelings and it gets sent. That is sort of the that's sort of like the very bare minimum of what I'm perceiving quantum mechanics to be. And I know so little on that. If a quantum physicist were to chime in right now, I'm sure they'd be like, let me take it over from here, John.
Yeah, well, I love, if I could go back to school, I would do astrophysics. So quantum physics is where it gets fun.
Fishy. Have you read anything on the quantum?
I've tried. So
the quantum.
What was it? No, because I'm starting with physics first. I don't know enough about physics yet to get to that point. But I will say I've noticed a trend with deep house musicians or tech or electronic musicians specifically. And there's this one label called Anjuna Deep, which is a subgenre of Anjuna Beats. So Anjuna Beats is more like trance dance music, and the Anjuna Deep, which I love, is more like deep house tech. It's a little more, and they'll have clips of the Four Agreements or just something really motivational, and they'll combine it in their music. And then when you get to know the artist, they're like, oh, I'm really into physics and quantum theory. And you're like, whoa, that makes so much sense. So I feel like that's why their music is so deep and spacey and things like that. But I don't know enough physics first to understand quantum physics. Mm-hmm. But I know enough astrophysics just to kind of get the cosmic calendar view perception. But if I could go back, I would definitely. But then again, like, you don't really have to go back to school now. You can go online, books, whatever. So yeah. And speaking of, I got to meet Neil deGrasse Tyson this year.
Oh, what? I think I remember seeing a photo.
Oh my God, that was so crazy.
What was that at?
So that was at the North Charleston Performing Arts Center. He was doing a tour he was debunking science fiction films and beer commercials.
Whoa.
Which was crazy.
That's pretty cool.
It was cool.
To like go from like, here's our starting place.
Yeah, and he was exactly what you think he's like. And he was like, look, he's like the media just portrays me as something like as me wanting to hash out. He's like, I'm basing this on facts. He's like now I think when he started, he was like, with movies like Mars Attacks, he's like, we just don't go there. You know, it's just strictly entertainment, obviously. But you know, why would you not want to think about these things? Like the movie Armageddon, which I love, he said it's like the least accurate. But he's like, why would you? He's like, it's easier to train astrophysicists to drill a hole than it is to hire drillers to become astrophysics or astronauts. You know, so just having that perception and you know, listening to him talk and you know, get really funny and comical and personal was really cool. And then meeting him, like, I've never gotten starstruck with musicians, but when I like met him and I asked him a question and he kept like it was like a 5-minute answer, and I was just like standing there like, oh my God. And I'm glad my friend recorded it because I don't remember shit. Like I didn't remember any of it. So, and then he was like, do you have another question? I'm like, yes, no, yes. So like, but you know, it was so different. But he, you know, just because I think for me, it was just like, we can ask those deep meaning questions and he'll have a scientific response to it, you know, good or bad.
Right.
And I did type up an article. It's called Thoughts from an Astrophysicist. And the question I asked, the first one I asked was, can science be unbiased and yet relatable? And the first thing he said was, you have to challenge scientific work. He's like, the scientists may not like it, but that's how you respect them. You put their theory to the test and you challenge them. So you would never think that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like we have to let the egos go.
Yeah.
And
so I don't know how far off topic we just went, but
oh, we're on topic.
Yeah.
Who knows where we're going?
So what do you like about the quantum itself?
Well, I guess it's like a fairly newer concept for me just to be exposed to right now. Um, it's just so interesting, like growing up and thinking that things are outside of me and I'm chasing things and I'm not enough and whatever, all these beliefs and baggage and trauma that I've kind of carried along consciously or unconsciously, to learn something about quantum physics right now and how that might relate to manifesting things we want in our life. It seems from that perspective, if we're looking at it, it seems to point to our states, our energetic states and feelings, draw to us more of what we are. Um,
No, that's a good answer. That is.
yeah, and that's sort
Yeah.
of how, to relate directly to my life, like the first song I released in this chapter of my life that I'm in under my own name is Every Time I Chose It. And that is sort of talking about that, saying everywhere I go, or just if I'm just sitting at my house.
I love that song. I love it. I was thinking
Oh,
about it.
thanks.
I was thinking about it this morning. It was in my head this morning because I knew we were gonna have our chat. And when I heard it, I was just like, "This is one of the most beautiful things I've heard in a long time."
Oh, well, thank you
So,
so much.
I mean, the melody, like everything, the lyrics, and it's just,
Yeah, it's like a physics
yeah.
song or whatever you want to call it
Mhm.
song. Like, it's pretty happy-go-lucky in its essence.
Well, I
But
think
like
that's because you you're you right now. Like you're in your moment, and it
yeah,
just comes out from that. So you did a
yeah.
wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, I really wanted the words to reflect the the deepest of beliefs or essence or truth that I could put into words in a simple way, um, without boxing myself in too much. So, yeah, I still really love how those lyrics land, and it is scientific and it's from things that I've picked up along the way of like, oh, if I choose to focus on this part of my life, it's gonna grow. If I choose to focus on, and it seems basic, but like if everyone had that reminder, myself included, it's just like a great reflection back to you. Like if you don't like what is going on in your life, like you have to focus on something else to create a different life.
Mhm.
Um, that's so
Yeah.
yeah, that's where that's that song.
No, and that's those are really valid points because you know people now, especially with social media, they have this perception of this is the life they're living, but it's not the reality. And they're like, "Oh, I'm this person," when in reality they're not that person. And stepping back and stepping away, and and like it's like that saying that we've always heard, actions speak louder than words. So
They so do.
yeah,
They
they
so
do.
do.
Yeah.
Um, and coming from you and I, who both use words in our professions, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's up with that?
I don't. I've always like. I had a teacher. I remember, was it third or fourth grade, and I wanted to be Mariah Carey singer. Like she was before she became a hoe. Like she was my jam. So yeah. So and I wanted to be a singer, but I was so shy as a kid. So shy. And I remember like we had an assignment or something, and I wrote this poem about a gorilla who's vanilla or something weird. But and the teacher was like, "You're gonna be a writer one day," and I was like, "No, I'm gonna be a singer." Like, and it was crazy, but yeah. But and so I do have this goal to finish this book I've been writing since I was like 15. So, so I really want to publish that by the end of next year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. What's the topic? Can that be leaked right now?
We can get a little bit. So it's it's gonna be it's gonna have some science fiction in there because it's gonna be in the future. But there's gonna have a lot of like spiritual I don't want to say nuances, but there's some, it's basically the world is piecing itself together, and then so I'm trying to make sure I get the science correct enough to match it with the spiritual situation of the story. But I will say that it's something that now that I've kind of learning to clear my head, especially the last couple of years, and working on myself better. Publishing that book has always it's been repetitive, like for me to do. It's just like, it keeps coming up. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I should do this. And I didn't, when I was looking at the old notes from like high school, I forgot I had created my own language for it. So I'm like, this is so cool.
Yo, what do you mean? That sounds really cool.
Yeah, like so I created the language for the book, yes. So
like literally different symbols for letters, or like
everything. Mm-hmm.
That's dope.
So it looks like Sanskrit and symbols and then I even I went as far as to like how to pronounce it. So I had like examples in there, and I was like, holy cow, like that's crazy. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So, but that's far as I'll go on that. So I'm always like paranoid about like sharing the story. Not that you would steal my idea, but I just always have that paranoia in the back of my head. So, yeah.
No, I think you're good. That one's all you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope it keeps on flowing together. Like, I'd be curious to check it out. That sounds cool.
Yeah. Well, I really want to get to a point to where I can be in a place where I'm not working full time, so I can just focus on that full time. Be in an environment where I don't have these distractions. So, and I think that's why Japan is looking so comfortable for me in general. It's just that, the culture and the not just Tokyo. I mean, there's just the whole country just looks like you can be one with the environment there, so yeah.
Follow that calling, if that's the calling, right? If it is.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's just a couple months, it's better than nothing. So yeah. How do you feel about Charleston now that you're back in Charleston?
I mean, I love Charleston, and I feel like I don't know how much longer I'll be here. Not that I'm anticipating to leave, but I don't feel like I have a feeling like 6 months from now, I imagine I'll make a decision. I think things will pop up within the next 6 months for me, as far as time goes, that will be more clear of where my like next phase is. I think I'm still like kind of finishing through a little moment in time right now, where I don't have that calling to move to Asheville or Alaska, or like I don't have that feeling right this minute, but I feel like that moment may come in 6 months. We'll see. Yeah. Or I'm not really expecting it. I know it's not quite here right now. Like I'm very good with where I'm at right this second.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how it started for me. I was like, I love Charleston. So many family here, and being so comfortable around it. But then I always knew deep down there was like another place somewhere. So, but I didn't know it yet. And then I thought Japan was the best option because I'm learning the language. So let me start there.
That's perfect.
Yeah, then just go on. So who knows? I mean, the world is at our, disposal.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you're saving. Those are good habits. Those are great habits.
It's hard, man. Like I remember like working retail, and working retail is like, I'm not against people who do work there. Like you do what you have to do, but I was part of the problem, being a retail manager. I'm part of the problem of where I'm not want to be, and being a negative person because I'm working in a field I don't agree with, I'm not a big spender. So just getting out of there.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Like it made me a person I wasn't. So, but I was poor. I was poor all the time. Like I remember like just trying to do quarters to get food or whatever. And so, I mean, and they really don't care about you. You know, those kind of, and I'm not saying all corporations are like that, but that's kind of what you'll get, you know.
Right. Definitely a lot of places that next week they'll have someone else with a name tag.
Yeah, and it's kind of sad because it's easy to get sucked into it. It really is, you know. And then a lot of those people, they have like 2 or 3 jobs because they don't pay well or what have you. So,
gives
but
us some security, gives us some this perception or feeling of stability.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it's like I've definitely had those jobs where if I really think about it, I'm placing a lot of my value and my future in someone else's hands in a sense. If I really get out of the driver's seat and like really it's sort of a vulnerable position if you don't agree with it. If it feels right, then like that could be a perfect setup to let someone else be kind of guiding you along. But yeah, back to like the feeling. If you feel called to go somewhere like Japan, then like who knows what that adventure could hold.
Yeah, and I hope a lot of people now, whether they're stuck at home or not, come to this realization, like, if I'm not happy, now's the time I can change that. You know, what is it that I really want? You know? So I hope a lot of people are focusing on that at this time.
I'm so curious to see how many things go virtual or have gone virtual and will stay virtual after this time. Like how many meetings or podcasts or anything that like Zoom's probably been out for years, I'm guessing. And it hasn't been till a few weeks ago that I felt inspired to use it along with many others for obvious reasons. But as all these companies and businesses and people are going virtual right now, I'm curious when things resume in a completely new way, this new world, having a taste of this time.
I think we're kind of already seeing that in a sense, but it's like you said, whether or not they'll stick with it in the long run, you know.
Right. Like, would it be nice to sit down at a coffee shop and have the same conversation? Yeah, that'd be sweet. Like, that sounds like a really great time now that I've been inside for 6 weeks.
Exactly.
But
I'll still go get tea, like, and I'm just like, I miss you.
Right. But then it's like, this also is super valuable and could be helpful for a lot of people to save time and have quick check-ins that are instead of texting once a day. And man, texting really is
exhausting. So I don't know about you, but I went through like my contact list by alphabetical order and I started calling people. Nice. Checking up on them and like, you know, and then I just got rid of the ones I don't really associate with at all. So yeah, so I'm still on L.
Well, you got time. I think
we'll
more time.
But you know, but I've always been like I like texting, but then like you don't know the tone or you know it's on anybody's time, and but especially now making that phone call and just reaching out. Yeah.
Right. Recently, a few people I've been texting with have been holding down that button just to do a little audio message and send it.
Oh yeah.
In the text.
Yeah. Yeah.
iPhone. I'm not sure what it's like for other phones.
No, I do. Do you have WhatsApp?
I don't. I haven't used it.
Okay. I use it a lot because I've traveled and so I'll talk to people in like Australia and Canada and like all over, and you can they have the voice option on there, and it's so cool because I don't know, like it feels like you're right there talking with them, you know.
Right. Walkie-talkie vibes. I love that vibe.
Yeah, so you can be in the car listening to them voice note or you know whatever. So
saves time. It's way more genuine.
Yes.
I mean, just those two things alone are a pretty good case, and I still text, which is so funny.
Well, then I still try to figure out who has an iPhone, who doesn't, and now I'm trying to see if I want to get the new SE because I have the original SE, but I'm like, I don't know, it still works. So yeah.
Well, what do you think? Should we transition out of this into the next part of the day?
Let's do it.
Yo.
This was awesome, man. Thank you, John.
Yeah, this has been lovely. Thank you for sharing everything, and it's been great to chat and get a little human connection.
Yes.
Today. Bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll talk to you soon. And please send me some of that information about North Korea and some of those
Oh,
organizations.
sure.
I would love to learn more about that,
Okay.
specifically, and yeah, whatever else.
Sounds good. Well, have an awesome day.
You too. Talk soon. Great chatting.
You too. Thanks, John. Bye.
Bye.